Hope we got lighting for this, but you'll see these wires have some nice meaty chew marks on them. So we're gonna change the plugs and the wires in the old Miata here today. But first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rewind you to over the weekend when we did the caster camber plates on the Mustang, and I didn't really talk to the camera because I had Sean over helping me. So now we're gonna cut to that footage. So now that we've got the caster camber plates on, in theory, this is supposed to fit. But now, I am thinking that we're back to the problem of clearance up here. Because as you can see, that is physically touching. And then, if we lift this up a bit, and we'll take this cap off, then it sits absolutely perfectly. So I either need to find a gas or an oil cap that is lower profile than this, or go back to my original plan, which was to replace these valve covers with one that has a lower profile tube. So yeah, that's where we're at when it comes to the strut bar. So I also have these torque box reinforcement plates that I'm going to go ahead and get started on today so that I have less things to do before the season, because we're now under a month before the racing season starts and I still got a lot of shit to do. So the torque boxes are under here, and what they do is they basically, when you launch the car hard, they're parts that are supposed to take all of the torque. And in these cars, I found out that they're apparently not particularly strong. So if you do a lot of hard launches, which obviously we do, they can wear out and physically rip the sheet metal apart. So you put these plates in, which are, they're like a 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch thick. They're pretty thick. And then if you bolt them on, they add reinforcement. If you weld them on, they add lots of reinforcement. So the plan is to bolt them on for now, and then when I learn how to weld, I'm going to go back and weld them in. I'll work on the camera angle because I have to do some inside stuff, I have to do some outside stuff, and we'll see. Hopefully I can get some decent shots. Step 1, paint. Because I'm not welding these, I need to paint them so they don't just rust. got some automotive primer, which should do just fine. And because this is going to be covered up by carpet and underneath the car, they also don't have to be super pretty. Just covered. Okay. Now we're going to let these dry and then paint the other side. And I am not going to do a time lapse for letting paint dry. The instructions say that I'm bolting it right under here. So I'm going to get rid of some of these screws. And then I'm going to peel off the carpet. And then there's supposed to be some sound deadening that we need to scrape off so that we can bolt it nice and flat. Thankfully for us, because we're not running the back seat and haven't covered this up yet, it's just a matter of peeling all this crap back. Oh yeah, big old nut here too. And a quarter. We're rich. So now we're gonna scrape. I'm gonna consult the instructions again to find the exact location, but we're gonna scrape some of the sound deadening off. Well, I hope this isn't too wobbly for you, but it basically sounds like from here over, including up underneath this wiring harness loom, which I may or may not have to remove, I need to scrape this sound material off. So I'm not sure really how to get started, but oh yeah, I can get a putty knife under there. Okay. Hopefully this isn't too much of a pain in the ass. But maybe it will be. Because there's a big hole, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a big hole right here that I could get under easy peasy. But is that going to be too much of the sound deadening? I guess it doesn't really matter, right? I don't care about sound deadening. It's a race car. But at the same time, I guess it's primered under here, so it's not going to rust or anything. I guess I could always slap some paint on there if I felt it necessary as well. One lesson I feel like I've been learning a lot lately is why work harder when you can work smarter. I got this, I don't even know what this is called, Wiggler power tool, and it's got a scraper attachment. So I'm going to give this a whirl and see what happens. Well, that seems to work significantly faster at least. I'm scraping some metal off, but I can always slap some primer on that anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear this out. I may or may not have to take this little panel off, but we'll see. Tell you what though, this is loud as fuck, so I'm going to get some hearing protection real quick. Did I mention that because I already installed these fixed back seats that I have to crawl in and out of the trunk? Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have to take this panel off because I gotta take
this piece of plastic off because it goes just underneath it. Luckily, I don't really care about the interior on this thing, so that was easy. Now I need a screwdriver. Take 2 screws off. So this little piece of plastic is only there really to hold these wires back for safe reasons. So I probably won't bother putting it back on, but I'll at least hold them out of the way while I scrape the rest of this. That's an amount of it done, but obviously it's very dirty and not entirely perfect, so I'm gonna get the vacuum so I can get a better look of what is and isn't done. Alright. That's not horrendous, but it is not clean down to the metal, so let's do some more scraping. What's up?
How's it going?
It's going.
Hey, you made 50 cents.
I did. I've also got this camera angle that may or may not be terrible. Upon reviewing the instructions, it said I need to be able to remove a plastic plug, which I think is going to be this little divot right here. So I'm going to actually come back to here or so and scrape all the rest of this stuff off too. It's not going to hurt the car to not have it because it's just sound deadening, so if I do too much, I don't think it's a very big deal. Alright, here we go. Well, that looks like rubber to me, but it does look like the part that they were probably talking about. So yeah, I'm gonna finish this off, and then it says I have to pull this out, which I probably am not gonna finish this project today, so I'm not gonna do that because I already have a hole here that's getting a lot of moisture in the car, so I don't want to make it worse. But hopefully I can at least get these sides somewhat cleaned up today so that next weekend I can finish this project up. Alright, I think that'll do for this side. I'm gonna pause briefly and get some water, and I'm gonna do the other side. Well, the battery on this thing is almost dead, so I'm gonna do the other side off camera, paint the other side of these off camera, and I'm gonna be done for today anyway, because we got some stuff to do this afternoon. And we'll pick this up next weekend, and well, I don't know if this will roll into 1 episode or 2 episodes, but because I imagine the noisy bit will be all super quick. So we'll see right after the cut. And now we're gonna get started on this. I'm gonna gap these to 0.044. So we've made sure to put some grease, dielectric grease, on the tip, and we made sure to put some anti-seize on the threads. And now we're going to torque this down to 13 foot-pounds of torque. The spec says 11 to 17. Okay, now I'm gonna prep all the new spark plugs so that I only have to rip a dirty glove off once. And then hopefully we'll do all this at once.
Now, the Miata is ready for its first race. We're not going to do tires for the first race because Chloe said, I just want to do it and see if I like it. And if I like it, then we can talk about dumping some money into it. For now, good to go. Sure. But upon further examination, these plugs actually look perfectly fine. It is just that the wires had been chewed on by a mouse. So I think I'm going to hold on to these in case I need some spares. While I'm not going to do the plugs and wires for this thing, because the wires haven't shown up yet, and I need a rotor and a rotor cap that I'm also going to replace. But I have the spark plugs, and I'm going to pre-gap these to save me some time later. The gap for these is 0.054, and they seem to come as about 0.043. They're all right around there, so we got to pull them out quite a bit. Perfect. And of course I'm dreading doing them on the Mustang significantly more because the Miata is actually super convenient because they're right on top. Whereas with this, they're down in the heads and they're actually kind of a pain in the ass to get to. So, you know, at least it's fun. Otherwise, I'm not sure why I do it. Also, thankfully, they seem to spring to just the right size. So at least there's that. Okay, so these are all gapped and ready to go in. These are now spares because they looked perfectly fine. I'm tossing the wires, obviously. And once the rest of the tune-up kit for this thing shows up on Friday, we'll be good to go. And hopefully, when I turn this on, I won't show you a giant cloud of very smelly, gas-smelling cloud. And hopefully, it'll just run nice and smooth, because my tires are supposed to come in the next day or so, and I need to drive it down there so that I can get them aligned, or get the car aligned, as you need to do when you change suspension components and caster camber plates anyway. So, yeah, basically the whole thing is contingent on me knowing what I'm doing, which is unlikely, and replacing the rotor, the cap, the wires, and the spark plugs, and then it fixing this misfire issue. If it doesn't, then I'm not entirely sure what to do, and well, I guess I'm not even going to worry about it, because we'll go from there if it's necessary. For now, I haven't been out here that long, but I'm going to go back inside and check the tracking on the stuff, I guess. Also, I bought some high temp brake fluid that I was gonna put in this, but I need a buddy for that, so stay tuned. I also forgot to mention at the end of, I think it's at the end of the caster camber plate stuff. It might be a different video, I'm not sure yet, but the torque box reinforcements are dry now and ready to go in, but again, I need a buddy for that because I don't want to crawl under the car out here alone by myself. So at the least over the weekend, hopefully I'm gonna get Pete over here because he said he wanted to help. If not, I'm gonna get Chloe out here and I'm gonna make her sit out here and make sure I don't die. Alright, I thought of something else we can squeeze in because it's only just before 5 o'clock. I'm gonna, since it's about 55-60 degrees out here, I'm gonna mask this off
and I'm gonna clean this thing right here, and I'm gonna spray some of my paint as a test piece, so I can see how well or not well it matches the color of the car. Hopefully very well, and then I'll spray the clear coat on, because it's a two-part system, color and clear, and hopefully it looks great. And well, great might be a stretch. This car doesn't need to look great. I just don't want it to look spotty rusty. So hopefully this will fix that, because you can see, I don't know, maybe you can't see, but there's like a little divot in here, and what I did was I sanded off the rust and then covered it in primer, and it's been too cold up until recently to actually throw some paint on, but I thought, hey, I'm out here anyway, let's throw some tape on, and then let's clean it up. We'll throw some paint on and see how it looks. Now, if only I could rip this tape even, I could get a nice wide piece. Just cover a little more up here, and then I'm gonna get like a piece of cardboard and cover up the window. All right, that should do that. So let's put that there. Let's do this. Ooh, that's got a much wider spray pattern than I expected. All right, allow 10 to 15 minutes between coats for drying. Shit. I mean, that was real light, right? Well, I guess the bad news is when it's wet, it looks darker. And I also may have oversprayed it a little bit because I'm an idiot. So I guess I'm gonna pause you for 10 to 15 minutes. Probably more like 15 because it is a bit cool out here. And we'll see how it looks as it starts to dry, and I might add another coat because you can still see the primer. It's been about 15 minutes, and while the color's not perfect, it's still, I think, gonna be close enough. And, you know, eventually I'd like to make this car look cool as shit, but for now I would like this car to not rust away into nothing. So let's add another layer, and well, it's now 5:15, so I'll probably go inside for the night because I gotta make dinner and all kinds of stuff as well. So maybe it'll even out as it dries. Super dark when it is wet. All right. Maybe if I'm feeling frisky. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Let's come back tomorrow when I mean, it's not dark, but the light's not great. And I want to at least see it in some good light before I make a judgment call on if I'm going to throw some more layers on it or if I'm just going to throw some clear on it and call it good.